What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris Evans here with Zero Meter Chasers live on this Monday afternoon. As we have finally started to see that pattern shift that we have been talking about the last couple of days. And I did want to get this up here as we look, excuse me for one second, as we look at our KY Mesonet website this afternoon, and we're going to look around the state and looking at our temperatures and the radar currently as we look at 1:16 Eastern Standard Time. So as you look off here at the radar, you can see we've got a big blob of rain that we've kind of highlighted here at Zero Meter Chasers for the last couple of days, and that blob of rain is currently residing right along the I-65 corridor. You are starting to see some cloud breaks out in far western Kentucky, where the temperatures are rebuilding to around 85 to the mid 80s. So we are warming up, and you can see that here. I think this is in Marshall County. You see those cloud breaks here on the KY Mesonet website. And that will lead to some more scattered thunderstorm development, especially in western Kentucky, as we go throughout our Monday afternoon. But as we stand currently, here is your heavy rain again, located along the I-65 corridor. Here's a picture of that from Hardin County. And as we look at the National Weather Service, we do have a risk for flooding as we get later into our Monday afternoon and Monday evening. We do have a flood advisory down there near Bowling Green right now as well. And we have a flood watch due to these multiple systems, slow-moving systems that will bring multiple rounds of storms as we get into later today and into Tuesday. Here is that flood watch, really anywhere from all of I-65 corridors included, and points off to the west. Really, it's from like the Bardstown, Nelson County area, and portions off to the west. So that's where we have that flood watch, not just for today, but we'll also have it for our Tuesday as well, where we kind of have like a rinse, cycle, repeat type of setup as we get into our Tuesday. We do have a low-end severe potential, especially along I-65 on Tuesday. We'll cover some data here in a second to kind of look at that potential. But today we do have a marginal risk out in far western Kentucky. So if you live west of I-69 or west of Madisonville, if you live near Paducah, there is a low chance with the sun shining and us kind of building in some of that instability this afternoon that we could see an isolated severe weather threat. But the biggest threat from any of these storm systems Monday and Tuesday will be the flash flooding threat. We will have very high PWAT values or very high moisture values that will lead to some localized flooding as we get into our Monday and Tuesday. So what I wanted to do now was kind of go through some model data with you guys. This is the HRRR, and as I get it fit to the screen, right, give me 1 second. So this is the HRRR currently, and it's doing a good job showing those showers and storms along the I-65 corridor. And as we get going here throughout our Monday, you will see those storms kind of fall apart, and we get some extra development, some new development out in western Kentucky. We will have to watch these cells for some brief isolated damaging wind gusts. But again, the main threat today is going to be our flash flooding risk. Basically anywhere from along I-65 and portions off to the west. If you get any of these thunderstorms as we get into our afternoon and evening on Monday, they could have localized heavy rainfall, torrential downpours, lightning, and you could see some flash flooding from any of these cells that kind of spark in the afternoon on Monday. But these cells will kind of die off as we get through the overnight. This is about 8 o'clock, and you'll see there's a couple complexes of cells here in western Kentucky. Really anywhere west of where that blob of rain currently is where you're most at risk for some thunderstorms here later into our afternoon. So not a big severe risk at all, more worried about the flash flooding risk. And as we get into overnight, you'll see a lot of these storms are going to die off. The HRRR has them rolling through about 10, 11 o'clock out in western Kentucky. We'll see, keep an eye on it as we get through our afternoon. But the very low end severe risk will start to dial down as we lose any heating that we're currently getting in western Kentucky through the afternoon and through the evening. So I did want to kind of fast forward here. And now this is looking at the impasse model. This model is one of the best short range cam models that we have. It does a really good job with convection. The 12Z today has not ran, so this was actually from last night, but it shows some of those storms that are firing here west of I-65, especially in western Kentucky. That's where we're going to see that localized flash flooding risk as we get into later into our Monday. As we get into overnight on Monday, you'll see these storms kind of die off, and our attention now is going to have to go to the northwest, because instead of storms kind of flowing from southwest to northeast, we're going to have the flow kind of changes as we get to our Tuesday, and it moves from kind of northwest to southeast. So we'll watch a couple of complexes of storms that look to fire, but especially one thing that to note as we get into our Tuesday morning tomorrow is there's going to be some more convection along I-65. We still have that slight risk of flash flooding as we get into our Tuesday. So I do think that we will have another isolated flash flooding risk as we get into our Tuesday morning along the I-65 corridor. This is not the only model showing some widespread convection. It'll be multiple just rounds of showers and storms. No severe threat with this as we get into our Tuesday morning, but there could be some flooding risks as we get into Tuesday morning, especially near Louisville along the I-64 and I-65 corridor. So that's something that I am watching as we get into our Tuesday morning. And then again, our attention is going to go to the northwest, and we'll have to track any of these complexes. You can kind of see the flow here. This is by 18Z. We'll fast forward it a couple hours, and we'll have to see if we get any complexes of storms. The biggest thing that we'll have to see regarding a severe weather threat tomorrow will be, how does that morning convection along I-64 pan out? Does that move out quickly? Do we see that convection kind of linger throughout the day on Tuesday? If that happens, we're going to see virtually no severe weather threat, and it'll be more of a flash flooding risk. But if that convection can move out earlier on Tuesday morning, could lead us to getting some instability in here on Tuesday. And we'll have to watch for any complex of storms that could track from out of Illinois and push our way into Kentucky. So that's kind of what I'm watching as we get into our Tuesday afternoon. And those storms will kind of push through as we get through our Tuesday afternoon and after. Again, here's another complex. We'll just have to see. There's a lot of different impulses in the short waves, a lot of different, just the general flow. There's a lot of storms. So it's just going to be repeated rounds of heavy rain and storms as we get into our Monday and Tuesday. I did want to share, as we look into our Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the National Weather Service is showing heat indices approaching 100 degrees near Louisville as we get into our later in our work week this week. So this is kind of our first real heat wave that we've had in Kentucky, as we've remained mostly cool for most of the summer. We haven't had very many 90-degree days at all. So heat indices approaching 100 degrees as we get to the end of our work week. So make sure you stay hydrated if you work outside, and you just you stay weather aware and stay hydrated as you're outside working, if you have to be working in these high temperatures and humidity values. So to kind of just cover everything one more time, again, if you guys have any questions, you can be sure to leave it in the chat and I'll answer it for any locations. Flooding risk is our biggest risk as we get into Monday and Tuesday. Repeated rounds of showers and storms as we get into our Monday and Tuesday, and then the heat will build in as we get into our Wednesday and Thursday, especially where heat indices will reach or be approaching 100 degrees. So heat builds in the late week, and we'll just have to worry about those pesky showers and storms as we get through our Monday and Tuesday. So I really appreciate everybody coming in here, and I hope everybody has a great day.